Great to see so many familiar faces. This is one of the first times I feel like we've gotten everyone in the same room together. This is exciting.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hi.
We are just waiting for folks to hop on here. We've got a lot of folks on the way, so we're just hanging tight until we get everyone on board here.
Oh, dang. It was so quiet when I joined. I was a little worried my audio wasn't working.
No. Vanessa, welcome. It's great to see you.
Good to see you all.
Good morning, good afternoon to those of you out on the East Coast. Welcome, everyone. All right, let's just give folks here another minute or so, and then we'll get going. We've got a lot to cover today. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started here. I think that we've got a good sized group here. I know we've got other folks that are going to be hopping on. And so, welcome to everyone. We're very excited to have everyone here today. For those that I've not seen in a long time or I've not met before, I'm Jake Elswick. I am the Customer Experience Director here at Servio Consulting. And just want to say welcome, and we're excited to have everyone here. So many partners on the call today to talk about the Education Cloud Student Information System. We know that this is a busy time for everyone. We've got end of the semester, end of the term, holidays coming up, and so really appreciate everyone taking some time out of busy schedules right now to join us. For today's call, we're going to start here with a quick welcome from our CEO, Nancy Cooper. Before we jump into the fun stuff and talk with our colleagues from Salesforce product team about what's happening with this amazing new student information system. We're going to talk a bit about best practices and how we implement this amazing new product and the tools that are within it to really help continue the transformation that Salesforce and Education Cloud is having across all of our partners here. And then we're going to have time for some questions. And so as we go through here this morning, feel free to drop any questions in the chat. We will work to address those throughout during the presentations. And then, yeah, after we get to the Q&A session, that's where you'll have an opportunity to hop off mute and ask any questions that you might have as we're working along here. And then as we wrap up here, we'll kind of talk about some additional opportunities to learn more and get excited about what's happening within Education Cloud. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Nancy Cooper, the CEO of Servio Consulting.
Thanks, Jake. Hello, everyone, and welcome. As Jake mentioned, this is an exclusive event of Servio's education partners, customers, and leaders who are really shaping the future of student systems, and we're excited to have you all with us today. Salesforce's approach to SIS on Education Cloud marks a turning point for the industry. It brings the full life cycle of a student from enrollment through advancement onto a single connected platform. And that's what makes today's conversation so important. As a Salesforce Education Cloud partner, Servio works closely with the Salesforce product team, not just implementing solutions, but sharing real-world customer and implementation insights that really help shape the future of Education Cloud. I truly believe that Education Cloud, now with SIS functionality, layered with AI, is unlike anything else in the industry, and I am personally very passionate about it. Today gives you direct access to the Salesforce product team behind that vision. It's an opportunity to really better understand the SIS roadmap, where Salesforce is headed, and as Jake mentioned, an opportunity to ask your questions. We are so grateful for your partnership and excited to continue building what's next together. With that, I am thrilled to hand it over to Armand and Vanessa from Salesforce to talk about all things SIS. And Armand, I think you are up next.
It's just we need to agree to unmute today.
We got you. Come on, we can hear you now. Can you hear us, Armand? Let me just message him. You are talking. We can't hear you.
He can hear us.
He can hear.
He just put it in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. In the meantime, I can pull up the deck and we can go from there. Oh, I don't have ability to share my screen, Jay.
Okay, give me one sec here. All right, go ahead and try now.
Oh, I see it now. Great.
Perfect.
All right, hello.
There we go.
There we go.
Sorry about that. That was weird. It said that I needed to agree to audio, and then I did, which I don't usually need to do, but then and then it didn't work. So, but I hopped back out and then saw another option to enable the AirPods, and so I did that. Anyways, okay. Sorry about that. Let me share my screen, and I apologize. My voice is probably a little off. I'm a little under the weather, so I'm just going to stay off camera, but I could not pass up the chance to chat with you all today. So can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Can.
Oh, great. Okay. So I'm going to maybe over the next 15 minutes kind of frame up the strategy. So this is a little bit of the like why we were moving into the SIS space, why now, how we're approaching this. So just a lot of the strategy side, and then I'll hand off to my colleague Vanessa, who will give us more of a detailed walkthrough of the product roadmap and the exciting features that are coming up. Does that sound good? Yeah. All right.
Perfect.
Excellent. Well, and so as Jake was saying earlier, thank you all so much for taking the time to be with us today and kind of go through all of this. Of course, Vanessa will be sharing roadmap, so I will remind everyone to make all purchasing decisions based on currently available technology. But with that said, I'll get into our strategy and vision. And I'll probably speed through some of these earlier parts because you're all living this every day and know it better than we do. But you know, we do these connected student reports every year, and so we kind of track the trends and data there. And you know, we're seeing some trends, right? So institutions looking for operational efficiencies, looking for additional revenue streams, students wanting more personalized support, right? Like these are kind of the things that are in the air, so to speak, nowadays. And at the same time, also institution kind of views on AI are evolving as well, right? And so we see kind of a lot of pretty strong agreement in terms of the potential for AI to be a helping force here in terms of scaling impact, driving efficiencies, things like that. at the same time, when we talk to institutions about their current technology, um, there's often a complaint around the SIS, right? It's definitely mission critical, but often institutions are on systems that have been in place for a long time. I think one of the stats we saw was, most are over 10 plus years old. A lot of, I think the majority are on-prem, things like that, right? So there's just this fundamental disconnect between some of the goals that are in the strategic plan, some of the view about the potential for AI to help, and then when we turn around and look at the legacy technology that we're on. So it's not surprising, kind of, when you think about all of that as the larger context, that we get kind of these questions. And I would say I've been at Salesforce 8 years. I've been getting these the whole time, which is, there's a little bit of where does the CRM fit in with an SIS, right? And then there's like, okay, like, why don't you all just build one? Seriously though, why not? And we used to really say, well, CRM is a system of engagement, SIS is your system of record, right? And that was how we differentiated. And if you looked back even like 2022 era, that framing made a lot of sense. So this is kind of just an illustrative snapshot of an SIS rubric, right? But you could see, we were doing more of the engagement side and not the sort of back half of it. And so that all starts to shift in 2023. So for those of you who've been with Salesforce for a while, you're probably familiar with this, but that was our journey to Education Cloud and launching Education Cloud as a true industry cloud product. So it'll be 3 years soon, but it's been a couple of years since then. That was 2023. And the reason why I say this is an inflection point is we joined the industry's portfolio, and I think this changed things for us in a way that I didn't fully appreciate or anticipate at the time. As I said, I've been here 8 years, and I would say the past few years have been completely unlike the first 5. So joining the industry's portfolio, you can see in the bottom here, the like common and reusable components. That's a key tenet of the industry cloud strategy. So the whole portfolio is building product capabilities in a way that is modular and reusable across industries. That means that it's not, we're no longer the smaller but mighty and powerful team that Vanessa leads on the product side, right? Developing all of the EDU innovation. That's one part of our innovation that's happening. But then we also have all of the innovation that's happening across the rest of the industry's portfolio, and we all share with each other. So that's pretty exciting and changes things. And so when we look at how Education Cloud works, and you all are probably pretty familiar with this, but across the bottom, we've got that education data foundation. That's different than EDA in a few kind of key ways. EDA being the education data architecture that we used to run on with our legacy products. This has a much broader kind of scope, and so and it is also built to be more flexible, so to accommodate things like credentials, micro credentials, stackable credentials, certificates, etc. Right, kind of a diversity of learning achievements. But then critically, this secret sauce in the middle, these we call them, actually internally we call them common capabilities. But these capabilities for education, this is where things like that student timeline that you see on the far right of that middle row, that started out as a patient timeline initiated by the Health Cloud team. We saw that and said, wow, that's actually a fantastic capability. In the same way that you want to know what treatments a patient has had before they come to you, you also want to know a student's history. And so we could take that and turn that into a student timeline for our use case without needing to build it from scratch. And then critically, all of these capabilities, they're shared and used by the apps above, right? So the apps above, you're probably familiar with: recruitment and admissions, student success, advancement and alumni relations, and academic operations. So if I take this appointment scheduling as an example, this is the same appointment scheduling capability that can be shared in the recruitment and admissions process and in student success, right? So when a student is actually already attending. So those are some of the exciting ways that things changed. But one of the key kind of side effects of all of that is that our velocity just picked up. Our velocity of innovation picked up in a way that was pretty dramatically different than in the previous 5 years. So this is a snapshot of the first couple years of innovation. And what you can see here is that we lapped ourselves and then some. So in the first 5 years, we launched a recruiting solution and an advising solution. So these first two rows. And then in the last couple years, we relaunched those with extended and new capabilities, but then also added advancement, which we previously hadn't covered, and added academic operations, which was sort of our code word for the early SIS work before we were ready to kind of share that openly with the market. So you can see we're just starting to move a lot quicker. That lands us at this place where we have a kind of this robust set that you're all probably familiar with. So I'm not going to get into that in too much detail, but you can see this is a lot of the key features, not all of them. But so it lands us at this place, moving at this pace, where we then start to want to revisit that initial framing. And our new framing is, since we now have added capability, let's actually deliver on what people have been asking for a while, which is, why can't I have my system of engagement and my system of record all in one place? And so with that newfound capability, we've expanded our ambitions and kind of the North Star shifts. So that's kind of what's behind a lot of the strategy change and, the like why SIS and why now. You'll see that, our plans over time is to fill in a lot of that rubric. So we'll do that. I think if that were where the story ends, it wouldn't be that exciting of a story. It would kind of just be like, all right, us too, we will also have an SIS. We really wanted to also take a moment to say what makes an SIS built on Salesforce different, like what might a next gen SIS include. And an important kind of contextual piece is 2023 wasn't just the year that we launched our industry cloud and sort of joined that portfolio. It's also the year that AI blew up, right? And became such a critical part with, especially on the generative AI and then into the agentic AI side. That's really kind of permeated all throughout Salesforce. And so we're kind of in this exciting place where we get to ask ourselves, like, what does it look like if you're building an SIS in the AI era, and not as an afterthought or a bolt-on after, but actually like thinking about it from day one, and how does that change the SIS that you're building? So it's pretty exciting. That gave us the opportunity to say, like, let's reimagine that rubric, right? So you can see the dark blue, it's still the same. That's kind of that core SIS, the core SIS parts. And that is absolutely critical. But I think equally critical to us is, what more could we be expecting from an SIS now, right? Very different than building it 2 decades ago or something like that. And so one of the top things that came up when we were working with folks and getting their input as well is cloud and mobile native. That is an interesting one for us because I think that's kind of been at the core of Salesforce from the beginning. But we put it on the list because it was important, to folks. And that's something that we could do natively. So cloud and mobile native, other pieces as well. So the design for interoperability and robust API management. This is where you can imagine like our MuleSoft capabilities can come into play, and now Informatica as well, which we're really excited about. A lot of exciting capabilities and a good footprint in EDU with Informatica as well. But so that's going to help on the data integration, the interoperability, the robust API management, the unifying and harmonizing all of your data for such a critical system that is the cornerstone of the tech stack. We really think this is absolutely critical, that an SIS should be able to help unify and harmonize all of your data. And using Data Cloud, we can do that. And then you can see on down the line, right? The extensible analytics with the semantic data layer, being able not just to have dashboards, but to be able to ask questions of your data, to be able to ask, what was the melt? How is that different than last year? That sort of stuff, and have an analytics system that knows what you mean when you say melt, right? Like that's kind of exciting to us. And so, and we'll be doing that with the Tableau Next capabilities. The lower maintenance cost is really exciting to us. This is one that when we spoke with institutions, this was a major pain point. Like we would hear things like, I have customized my SIS beyond all recognition, right? And we would hear kind of like horror stories of, I've had to slowly hire an army of developers over time to maintain all of these hard-coded customizations. And then when they put out the latest like version, we can't switch to it. We have to kind of go through this whole painful process. And so we really wanted to think about that differently, and how can we lower that maintenance cost and offer no code extensibility, low code extensibility, now vibe code extensibility, right? So kind of like a lot of really exciting and different ways to look at this. Embedding agentic AI throughout is really critical. I think we see that in our early work with course reg, and Vanessa will talk about the different ways that you have kind of the standard course reg and then the agentic AI version of course reg, right? And so you'll just see that kind of pattern repeat. And I think that's a very exciting thing, especially getting to think about that from day one. Enabling seamless collaboration across all stakeholders, we get that with our Slack, and then powering consumer grade multi-channel engagement, we get that with our marketing capabilities, which are now also offered on platform as well. So kind of a lot of exciting things that we think we can expand beyond what a traditional SIS does. And so when we look across the landscape, we think of it kind of, there's the traditional SIS, often traditional full ERP approach, right? That idea of like consolidating SIS and HR and finance, and kind of creating that single walled garden. And there's definitely like some power to that, right? Like you're combining a lot of kind of key capabilities. We think there's also like clearly some challenges with that. When we talk to folks, it's often like, yes, every SIS had a recruitment and admissions module, and no, nobody liked the one that it came with, right? And so everyone kind of goes and looks out across the market and says like, where can I find a good recruitment and admissions point solution to replace that? And then we do that with advising, and then we do that, right, like over and over and over again. And so you kind of have this sea of point solutions, and that's kind of what we were seeing as this common pattern that leads to. That, of course, as you all know, like leads to islands of trapped data, right? You've got your advising sitting in one place, and your recruitment sitting in another, and course dog helping with scheduling, right? Like kind of on and on. And I think that past slide is a kind of the marketing version. I think the reality, this is from a US institution, but this is more like what the reality looks like. And even this, I think, is maybe optimistic, but this is, you end up with like 30 different pieces that you're trying to glue together with an SIS and an ERP that weren't designed to do that. So we said we want to take a different approach. Like our thought was, can we bring a deeply unified platform approach to SIS? And that means having something that is designed with the idea that it's a multi-vendor tech stack in mind from day one, right? So the idea is not like, we will be your everything, but rather we acknowledge that you're going to be using a variety of technology solutions in your approach and to support your mission. And we want to support you in doing that, right? We want to start with acknowledging that that's just the reality of the tech stack today. I think analyst firms like Gartner have been talking about the composable tech stack for decades, and we've seen that vision come to life in other industries. I think it's been slower in EDU because the legacy kind of technology solutions that we haven't been ready and able to kind of realize that composable vision. And so we thought, like, actually, we have an opportunity to do something better and different here. We have a play nicely with others kind of approach. And so we can create a composable and extensible platform that way. At the heart of that play nicely with others approach is Data Cloud, right? That's sort of serving as that foundation. Now, Data 360, sorry, I'm using all the wrong terms, but you all follow what I'm saying. But Data 360, right, really built to unify and harmonize all of your data to the point even where, we'll talk to institutions that are saying, well, I'm already using Snowflake or AWS or whatever, right? Because I have either a data warehouse or a data lake, et cetera. And we go, great, we want a yes and that work as well, right? And we can offer some zero copy solutions to bring that stuff over. So Or we'll talk to institutions who say, like, we don't have anything set up there yet. And we say, great, like actually Data Cloud can do that for you, right? So just really that idea that you should have a system that is built to sort of like yes and the work that you're doing and the vendors that you're working with. And to that end, I think probably also worth noting where we see that common consolidated ERP kind of approach, we're not taking that approach. We're really focused on the SIS. We will let the people who are good at HR do HR, and the people who are good at finance do finance. And we know that we're really good at the CRM and SIS side of it. And so that's where we're going to focus our energies, and on being able to unify a best of breed approach. So that's kind of our strategy here. And so you can see how this all kind of comes together. It's more than just Education Cloud, or now called Agentforce Education, but it's more than that, right? It's really this full stack, where you're using Data Cloud, using some of those zero copy capabilities where needed, but using Data Cloud as that data foundation that's built to unify and harmonize. Then using Education Cloud to do that core CRM and SIS heavy lifting, and giving you that student-centered approach. And then Agentforce, at this point, kind of natively woven throughout the entire platform as an option if you want to really scale into the future and use agentic AI as well. So that's our strategy. Our thought is really, we want to focus on student-centered, and I know that's in every education technology vendor's marketing. Like, I think the difference is that we really mean it. Like, so we're saying student-centered, it's CRM in the DNA, right? Like, we didn't start in HR, we didn't start in finance, kind of the institution-centric, and then work our way here. We really started in CRM with students at the center, and are working our way out from there. So student-centered first and foremost, composable, and that's with the kind of the Data Cloud and MuleSoft and Informatica superpowers supporting us. And then AI powered, of course, Agentforce throughout. And I won't belabor the Agentforce point, because if you've been anywhere near Salesforce, you kind of you've heard a lot about that. So that's a little bit of our strategy, and kind of how we got there. And then I think at this point I can hand it off to my colleague Vanessa. And I don't know if we're doing questions at any point, or maybe at the end. Maybe that would work best. So
Yeah, Imran, we're gonna have some time for questions at the end. So if anyone has anything they want to throw in the chat that we can respond to now, but we will have time towards the end to cover that as well.
excellent.
Herman, do you want me to
Over
share
to you,
my-
Vanessa.
Do you want me
Yeah.
to share my screen? Is that easier for you?
Oh, sure. That way you can just switch
Yeah.
when you want.
Thank you. You
There we
don't
go.
sound great. I appreciate you being here.
No worries.
Amazing. Hopefully you all can see my screen. Okay, great. All righty.
Yeah.
So I'll take you through three major releases, and then I am going to give you a peek into what we're planning over the next 3 years, and kind of a bigger swatch. That's not something we normally share with everyone, but I think it's really helpful to understand kind of the grounding. And, hey, if this is the SIS roadmap, why are you showing me all the modules? Well, it's partly because as we define this modular approach, right, everything kind of adds into that SIS overview. So we really see our CRM modules as being part of this, right? This is one product with multiple modules, and you get access to these things. And so I think kind of showing you that whole picture is really helpful. So in the release that we just launched in October, this should be in all of your orgs now. We had a number of enhancements to recruitment and admissions, a lot of areas that really a lot of feedback came from customers and partners. Curious, did just show of hands, was everyone at Dreamforce, or have you seen anything coming out of Dreamforce? Is this release new to you? Do you want me to go through this release? Happy to go through it. Just didn't want, if this is a repeat for anyone, also happy to spend more time on the other ones.
And that might be good just to do an overview of this for folks that weren't at Dreamforce, and then we'll have it on the recording form as well.
Perfect. Sounds
Awesome.
good. Okay.
Thank you.
So when it comes to the RNA pieces, it's all around just that additional oomph around usability, right? So the item enhancements comes down to the applicant really getting to choose what they what they want to submit with each application. So maybe you have an undergraduate student who's applying to a graduate degree. They can review all of the test scores, for example, and choose which ones they want to put in with that graduate application. So this is something that is, gives a lot of power to the applicant, but also the reviewers quite appreciate only seeing the things that are applicable. They also have a lot more structure around being able to view and edit each individual section, and then really being able to review the whole thing before submitting it. There is a piece around this that's coming in the spring release that is a digital signature component where you can actually physically sign digitally. So that piece is coming out in the spring. We also enhanced our student recruitment agent with some additional actions. And so this is a great way just to really think about all the support that an applicant needs, and the questions that they're trying to get answered. Maybe they want to register for a campus tour. Maybe maybe they're just kind of doing some early investigation and you want to capture their academic interest to start putting them on a marketing journey, right? So all of the ways that an agent can really help foster that prospect's interest and ultimately start the application for them. In our student success area, we're really excited about our new functionality for career planning and life goals. Really helping the student think about what comes next. How do they think through maybe what some of their short or medium or even longer term life goals are? And then what steps they're going to have to take, what skills they're going to have to build, what services exist on campus that could help them kind of on the road to meeting those goals. So it not only helps them really think kind of big picture, but also even get closer to the university and discovering areas that can help them with their ultimate goals. And then, of course, also the Agentforce areas here, making sure that students aren't just looking at a blank page. They can kind of conversationally chat and understand what some goals might be and what some areas might be to help them as they're thinking about meeting those. There's a lot of assessment capability built in here for students to even investigate things that they like and don't like, and kind of start to unlock that. Within advancement, we have our gift planning application grew even more in this release, the ability to pre-build a lot of calculations just to kind of get you off and running. So this really thinks you through everything from that original kind of gift concept all the way through stewardship with a guided process. And some great additional visualizations in our philanthropic research area as well. For academic operations, we had previously launched course registration, but we continue to enhance that. And now we're getting obviously past traditional prereqs and co-reqs to get into more complicated scenarios like linked sections. So maybe you have not just a co-req of a lab and a lecture, but if you take this section of the lecture, you need to take this section or one of these two sections of the lab, and maybe it's different for a different section of the lecture. So it allows you to really link them together. Or you might have something that's not just a pure prereq or a pure co-req, but it could be one of the two. So you could take it before or together. So that pre/co-req. Also the ability to add custom fields, both in the search at the course level, also at the offering level. So it just gives you even more greater control over what the student sees when they are going to register. The course search agent helps students to find another course. Maybe there's something that is already taken up. It gives them a chance to really interact and get other suggestions around courses when they're registering. And then custom rules. So this allows us for you all to enhance. So maybe, you've got all your prereqs and co-reqs, but maybe you have something like an anti-req or something where if you take this course, then you need to make sure that that you're not taking something else, right? I guess that's an example of an anti-req. So you are able to build out custom rules that go beyond what we have, and these are then going to be these are going to work both in the degree planning and the course registration context. So it gives you ultimate control over what those rules are going to be. The registration windows and holds and blocks were previously released, but those have beefed out as well with more of an experience when you're building out the windows, as well as the rule-driven creation of holds and blocks. And then for any of our Data 360 customers, we have previously released all of our Education Cloud entities within Data 360, but now that data kit and the mappings to help get that going even faster. as we look to our spring release, this is the release that's coming out in February. So we are essentially complete in terms of building this release now. There's a huge focus on transfer credit. So from the recruitment and admission side, it's of course the application side, and it's not just for courses, also having the ability in the application to submit for military experience or work experience or test scores, but also get those real-time estimates and be able to leverage that within the application as well. And a lot of that, again, happens through Agentforce. So being able to support applicants and trying to get a better sense of how their previous coursework or other pieces may articulate for them. When we get into student success, for appointment scheduling, we are introducing some new functionality that's really going to help administrators kind of get through it much quicker, right? Scheduler is built for multiple industries and sometimes doesn't speak the language of education. And so, thinking about an advisor called a service resource doesn't always sit well. And it can be a little confusing. There are some entities that we don't really need in our industry, or maybe they feel a little repetitive. This cuts all through that. So you're able to use our guided setup, fill in what you need, all of the other data models kind of filled in as necessary, and it just makes standing up scheduler a lot easier, and also the ongoing maintenance. There's also great views for advisors to be able to manage their availability a lot easier than it exists today. Our LMS integrations are really exciting. We've got some MuleSoft Anypoint connectors coming for Canvas, Moodle, D2L, and Blackboard, as well as Flow connectors for Canvas. And so it just helps, again, like get to that place where you're doing your LMS integration a lot easier. I just saw a great demo of this. Because the connector is there, you're able to stand up a flow within Mule, and then you can see how when you create a course offering in Salesforce, it can be immediately created in your LMS. Maybe you're sharing grade information as it's posted to your LMS directly into the into Education Cloud. And so it's pretty phenomenal. For advancement, we're expanding on our prospect research area to also include Slack and all of the conversation and the Agentforce goodness to really be able to collaborate and work together on prospect research. And then in gift planning and fundraising, we've got a number of additional calculations and additional enhancements just to continue to make that an even better solution. In academic operations, again, expanding on the registration story, we are going to have registration attributes. We call these educational characteristics, but it allows you to align, so that if maybe you have a certain course that is only for seniors, or only for seniors that either have a major or a minor in biology, right? And it allows you to define all of those rules and apply the characteristics to both students and courses. We will be expanding this in the summer release to do that at the offering level as well. So maybe at the course level, it's for everyone, but you have a certain section that is only for those senior biology majors. And so you'll be able to do that in the summer. We also have the support for waitlists. This gives you a lot of control over how you want to stack rank that if needed, and what the periods are for response when someone gets off the waitlist. And then there is the other side of transfer credit. So it's not just about applying, right? That's one thing, but then all the document review and the articulation is really important, that as well. In the summer release, we'll be expanding that for the unarticulated course review. So maybe there's a course that hasn't been evaluated yet, and you want to send that off to faculty review to evaluate how that might work. That piece will come in summer, but for the ones where you have an articulation agreement, that ability to match those and get that back. We've also added a new common component, unified catalog, and this is an area that we really plan to build out templates for all the sorts of petitions and exceptions that a student may need to apply for, or even things, that at my university, we used to call them registrar forms, right? So maybe you need to submit for leave of absence or a name change. So it's just a really great foundation for all of those. It allows you to customize what they need to fill in, and then what the approval process is, and then how the data are updated on the opposite end. For Data 360, we'll be getting into our semantic layer. So this is that ability to define our language in terms of our data model, so that if you are engaging with Tableau Next or an Agentforce and you want to understand retention risk, or you want to understand for a course how many sections we should plan for, right? It would understand the language and be able to translate that and be able to give a consistent answer. So working on that, I think will really help with all of the plans that we have as well. And then we're going to launch our student financials module. Now, we don't expect that it's certainly not an MVP in this spring release, but we do want to get it out there so folks can start to understand what is coming. The focus in the initial release is around fee management, getting all the fees in there, and then having students be able to understand what those fees are and what that breakdown is. So there's a really important Agentforce element to this as well, as they start to interact and understand what they're being assessed for. I'll start down there on that bottom corner with financials, because this is obviously a really important expansion for us, and that is getting into the invoicing and the payment processing, all of the billing goodness that we need, as well as account reconciliation. So these are really important areas coming in the summer release. As we look ahead to the June release, the winter 27 release, we will also have refunds and payment plans coming out in that release. So lots of really great things as we're kind of marching through 2026, focused on financials as a new module. I'll kind of go up and around this time. So for academic operations, we will also be adding data model and some views around attendance. So this isn't important to everyone, but it is important in pockets. And so, maybe you've got a set of international students, and they need to have a certain amount of attendance to be able to keep their visa. Maybe this is important in some of your programs, but not all. Obviously, for K-12 customers, it's pretty important all across the way. And so this is an area that we'll launch in the summer release, as well as some other registration enhancements. So looking at even stronger searching and filtering, like I mentioned, the course the registration attributes for course offerings. And time conflicts as well. So looking at some really exciting things there. I don't think we have any UK customers on here, but we're also looking at HESA returns, which is really important to that market. And then Slack for faculty enhancements as well. Excited for thinking about how we can better engage with faculty, and Slack is just such an incredible area to do that in, to be able to interact with them. They will have course pages, students and faculty can be added directly to every time there is a course offering, and then even be able to get some insights into maybe who they need to log an alert for, and be able to swarm with the advisors to be able to support those alerts. When we think about recruitment and admissions, our focus in summer is going to be on financial aid. Now, this is not financial aid management. We are not building a whole financial aid management system, but we are building data model in Data 360, so that you can integrate that with your financial aid management system and get really great insights for your students. So there will be views on the portal that help to expose and really make it simple to them what is coming and what outstanding items there are, hopefully some direct linkage to the FAM, but also they can engage with an agent and ask questions and understand what's coming. This is obviously very important, this data model and these the data in the data model, to be able to support billing as well, to make sure that we are taking it into account, financial aid and scholarships when we are creating those bills. In student success and actually in academic operation, we'll be introducing our first Tableau Next dashboards. And so excited to focus in those areas. When we did research with customers, those are the two areas they wanted first and foremost. And so we will be delivering those. And then also looking to expand advancement for Grateful Patient to make sure that we're tracking for those of you that have that relationship with a teaching hospital. Okay, here is the quick look of our 3-year plan. Obviously, we started off with our forward-looking statement. This very much applies, right? As things kind of grow, sometimes they shift out, but at least in the 2026 bucket and the 2027 bucket, we're feeling really, really solid about this. We talked about most things in the 2026 bucket here. The one additional piece is right at the top here, course versioning. For those of you that are using our courses right now, if you were to have a new version, you would need to create a new course. And the challenge there is that any program plans that it was a part of, you would need to go back and modify those. And so this will allow you to create a new version and then not have to go and update that, so that, student A who took Intro to Computer Science 3 years ago, that will obviously will stay on their transcript, and it will meet their requirement for their program plan. But then as you update that, and it's maybe basics of AI, but it's going to fulfill the same requirements, any new students would be able to take that, and again, it would count in the same program plan. As we look to 2027, it's all about getting to degree audit. And you'll see a number of the additional data model updates that we'll make in late 2026, going into 2027 will be to support that. So there'll be some additional layers of academic structure added on top of what we have now to be able to support degree audit and ultimately graduation clearance as we get towards the end of the year. Part of that is the student schedule optimization and thinking about how they go from degree planning into registration while optimizing based on their preferences, on their work schedule, and thinking about those right sections that match, all while kind of keeping that kind of always on audit feedback in mind, right? So if I had planned to take all of my some really important required courses with my advisor, and then I get into registration and I'm like, they don't fit well into my schedule, and I start replacing them all with electives, we would really want to give that real-time feedback to the student of like, this is going to impact your progress to degree, right? And so excited about how we can do this in an agentic way that is really unique for students, and that they're getting kind of consistent feedback all along the way. And then as we continue to build out our Tableau Next footprint, we will be thinking more about financials reporting, but also around compliance. So we're starting with that HESA journey for the UK, but we'll be getting into mortar caps and iPads and other areas for other regions. As we get into 2028, we'll be thinking more about course scheduling, enrollment forecasting. Some of those predictions actually are going to come earlier, but really building out the full solution as you're planning out your various offerings and what's needed year over year, as well as thinking about new curriculum and the proposals there and that process. Obviously transcripts is an area that part of the reason it's in 2028 is that it's something that working with a team like Servio, you're able to do now, right? We have all the raw data here, but we'll think about beefing that out based on feedback from customers in 2028 as well as faculty and course assessments. So that is kind of the major goings on. I think that is actually in the last slide. So very happy to take questions. If there's any feedback, any things that you are happy to see, unhappy to see, we are always willing to take feedback.
Derek from Doan, sorry I'm late. Yeah, I have a few questions.
Yeah.
Is Salesforce taking any feedback in the order and how these things are being implemented? Because it might be easier for an institution to slide into these things if they're done in the correct order, if that makes sense.
I would love to hear that feedback for sure. I mean, part of the method to the way we're building is thinking about, how we unlock things at a time, right? Like we can't do degree audit until we've done that ability to take courses, transfer credit and posting all that transfer credit. So we definitely have kind of a building into it model, but if there are pieces that you see here that would make a huge difference to you, I would love to take that feedback.
For example, I think a lot of folks are frustrated with Ellucian right now with like financial aid management. You mentioned you're not going to build the financial aid management, but there is real world concepts of not using Ellucian's tools. Like there are tools, and those tools, in my opinion, you really can't use without consultants. So if you're looking at a way to, I don't know, if you think of the ERP like a giant, like an elephant, there is an order, in my opinion, that Salesforce could implement these things where you can start taking bites out of it, right? So, you get down to where like half of it's already in Salesforce, you might as well move the other half kind of concept. So Anyway, I'd be interested in any conversations if there are ways to make those suggestions.
Yeah, that's great. And we do have a great partner in Regent who has built a financial aid management system on Salesforce. And so as we were building out the financial aid DMOs, we've worked with Regent and PowerFeeds and also looked at PeopleSoft and others to to kind of make sure that we are well situated to integrate with some of those players.
I also had another question on the scheduler. You had one of the previous slides, you had a scheduler in there. One of the things we were hoping to use the Salesforce portal for was for the scheduler, but we couldn't make it work real world. So we ended up using Zoom. It seemed to be the easiest. And then there was like no purpose for us to create a portal. When you say a guided setup for scheduler, is that the same? Is that it? Or are you guys reinventing that or making it better?
The underpinnings is still scheduler, but it is so much better. And so the point here is to remove that complexity, honestly, and to kind of obfuscate the data model. And so it should hit your sandboxes in January. So highly recommend when you come back from break, having someone take a look, specifically look for this new feature. And we're happy, obviously, to work with you and Servio on giving you a demo of that. But I think that I think it's going to change the game for you. Scheduler definitely has complexity, and this should really take it away. But we worked hand in hand with our customers that were struggling with it. I think there are others just like you that were having that feedback, which is exactly why we prioritize that build.
And then on the financial side of things, are you suggesting that like the student could pay their bill through Salesforce? Okay.
Correct. So the underpinnings of that is, I'm not sure if anyone has heard of it, but it's called revenue lifecycle management. And so this is that, kind of top tier revenue system that companies and industries all over using, as a part of Salesforce. But we are adding that layer that educationifies it, if you will. And so it's super powerful. It's got all the scalability and the auditability built in that all industries need. But then just those very tailor-built student views. One of the other pieces that we'll actually come out with now I need to look at my thing here, in the October release, so at the end of next year, and really this coincides with a full-on kind of MVP of the student financials module, is our delegated access management framework. So of course, a lot of times parents are the ones that pay the bill, and so students need a way to say, I want to be able to give access. And so it is a framework, and so it will allow you to define the pieces that you would want students to be able to delegate. So maybe they should be able to delegate grades or even registration or schedule access, just visibility or financials. And so you would be able to define those areas in setup. Students would then be able to define their proxies and provide and pick what level of access they should get. And then on the flip side, to be able to have a parent log into their portal and actually view and pay the bills as well. And so that is a piece that will also be timed, as I said, for the end of the year, which kind of rounds out that picture of where we're going with student financials, at least initially for an MVP.
There's some financial things that I don't know how the administration is affecting these things, but on the financial side, when you're taking money from students, laws and things are being enforced by the CFPB. Now, I know there's no one in there right now, but there are some things that need to be considered for compliance things, and those rules could change. Would Salesforce be managing those things? Would they be monitoring for when those compliance things change and then feature change so it supports it? A lot of tools like Nelnet's Commerce Platform, some of the things that Aleutian is doing, they handle that. Like they watch for those changes, and as part of our maintenance costs, they make those changes within the system. Now, I will say sometimes they do that well, and sometimes they don't do it, and then sometimes they think they did it and it doesn't work. So there's like lots of things with that. So, but I was just kind of curious with going to education or go to EdCloud, if Salesforce will pick that up, or would I have to partner with like a Servio to catch that stuff? I'm just kind of curious.
It's a great question, and I don't want to speak to it because honestly, I don't have a definitive answer, but I would love to work with you to get some examples to make sure, how that would best be handled.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I appreciate it. Other questions?
Derek probably
Everyone-
asked everyone's questions. So it's awesome.
I'm mad at Aleutian right now, so I could keep going.
Fair.
We should definitely talk to you more.
Also, note to Herman and I, let's stay on Derek's good side over here. I like that plan.
Any other questions from folks out there?
I think everyone is counting down the days to next week, so hopefully take some time off, unplug a little bit.
Awesome. Well, if there's no other questions, let's kind of talk about some next steps here. So I'm going to steal back the screen share here. So very exciting conversation today. Vanessa, Armand, thank you both very much for taking the time and sharing these insights. One of the things that we are doing a lot more of heading into 2026 is looking for opportunities like this to connect all of our partners with the amazing team at Salesforce to get insights and to be able to provide feedback and ask these questions. And so we will be inviting everyone to our next session, which will focus on advancement on Education Cloud. We're going to be inviting Salesforce Senior Director of Product Chris Clark to join us, and so we're very excited about that opportunity to continue some of these conversations around advancement, data cloud, Agentforce, things like that. And then we've got several other upcoming events that are going to be taking place throughout the spring and summer with Salesforce. We'll continue to update this and keep everyone within our networks up to speed about opportunities to grow and learn here. And then in closing, just again, thank you. This is an amazing opportunity. Thank you to Vanessa and Armand for taking the time to join us today. Thank you to all of our partners for not only being here, but for being amazing partners. Everyone here at Servio, the reason why we do this, many of us have come from education. We believe in the mission. We love seeing what's happening in your districts and on your campuses, and we love being your partner. And so as we head into the holidays, just want to wish everyone wonderful times with family and friends. Happy New Year, and we're excited to continue on this journey in 2026. Thanks all. Have a great
Thank you all.
Thank you, Jake. Thanks for all your
Bye-bye.
hard work. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.